We're now in the system. So just for reference, on the left-hand side here, I've got the admin console. This is kind of that computer web version. And then to the right, I've just also got the mobile view so that we can kind of see how things will flow through when we design certain things within that form builder. So where I'm going to start off is here in the admin console. Of course, we need to be logging into this just by going onto our web browser, looking up Site App Pro, and then logging into that login page. This will then lead you through to your whole admin console, and we're wanting to navigate to the Forms tab. So this is where we have our whole library of forms available in the account. These are going to be some of custom forms that you might build yourself or we've built into the system for you. It might be a list of Site App Pro templates that we have provided for you as well. So yeah, have a bit of a look through your list. We definitely recommend initially when people first start with the system to really go through the list and look into the designs of the templates we've got and see which ones kind of apply to you as a company and which ones might not as well. So definitely we have those there for you, but you can go and have free reign and build as well, which we'll definitely learn about today. So just to break down the different aspects of this page that we're seeing, the SAP icon here to the left is the template that we have provided. So you'll see a heap of these shop on the left-hand side, and then anyone that you've kind of custom created or edited or changed will kind of lose that aspect to it. So you know that it's now kind of made your own. It's your own version of it. We can also start to see along this list some ones with warning signs. This just means that they've kind of been turned off. So these are the forms at the moment that I might be working on in the background as an administrator or a health and safety manager, and I don't want my team to have access to it yet. So I'm just kind of turned it off from the mobile view, going to go and edit it, change it, design it the way I want it to be, and then I'll kind of almost publish it to the team. Additionally, we have all the names here, as you can see, and we've got different user groups. I will dive into the user group aspect a little bit more later after we've gone through the builder side of it, because there is a layer of kind of setup with that. But the main goal of the user group that we have here is to kind of filter different forms for different people. So we might have, in my example here, I've got a site foreman user group, and we just want this specific form to go to just those people so that the rest of my team don't really have to worry about that form. It's a nice little filter system, and we will dive into how to create that system for sure. Then we've got different kind of version numbers. This kind of keeps track of how many times you've edited or changed the form. As you can see, my Toolbox Talk has 11 different instances, so we've got different options there of how we've kind of changed that around. The form type helps us know kind of which category it's assigned to as such. So we've got a custom set, obviously, of ones that I've built, but we do also have the ones that have kind of hard coding behind them. We then also have the scheduling. So this is kind of part of our form functions. We have 3 different form functions to really focus on and be aware of. So the first one is schedule. We have a daily, weekly, or monthly kind of option for your forms to come up in the mobile. As you can see here, I've got my pre-start set for daily. My toolbox actually is set for daily, but some people generally do it for weekly as well. That's just our general kind of weekly discussion. I know some of you, maybe in Canada or America, might not call it a toolbox, so just be aware of today. My lingo might be a bit different to what you guys might be using, whereas the Kiwis I'm talking to today, also toolboxes are quite familiar for you, so just be aware of that. But yeah, we normally do that kind of weekly discussion for the team to be aware of our health and safety. So I might want to change that to weekly, but currently I've got it for daily. And then we've also got our monthly options as well. So what we're going to do with those ones is just make them flow into the mobile with that schedule onto our to-do list. So by setting that schedule, we're seeing today's tasks will have my daily forms. This week's tasks will show weekly forms, and this month's tasks show monthly forms. So really self-explanatory. We set that schedule to it, and then it's going to flow into the mobile. The second option or function that we had that I was talking about out of those 3 is the unscheduled forms. So these are the ones that clearly don't have that schedule next to them, and they're more of just an ad hoc form. They kind of are gone to as and when required. So they're going to be just in our form library. The team will kind of jump into the mobile, go to the form library, which is found in the bottom right, search up the form they want from the list that's available, like this list here, and then they can just open it and save it to the site that they've selected. So really kind of just one-off moments, like a near miss might happen. We're going to go find that near miss form. We'll save it to the site we've had it happen on. Beautiful. Moving along to the right, we also have our anytime forms as well. So these are available kind of ad hoc, this option here too. We can, of course, edit the forms. The pencil icon is our go-to button when we want to change a design of anything or edit it. So that is the option there. And then we also have the duplicate aspect. So if you find there's a form that you really like and you're like, oh, I want to change it slightly, but it's pretty much the same as this one that's already made, we're going to click duplicate, and then that one will then have another option of exactly the same copy, and you just change the name or a schedule maybe, or a different question and things like that. We also have the revert option. So as you can see with the SAP icon, of course, that's our template, and my pre-start has been changed a little bit. We've got 4 different versions of it. So that SAP aspect has been removed from it. So it's not the SAP template anymore. And you can just kind of click on this revert option to put it back to what the original design was. If you just kind of didn't like the changes you made, you want to pop it back to our template. Awesome. Last little column here is the delete option. This is only for the custom forms, so anything that you design or build on your own. So we can kind of just bin them if we know, okay, we don't need that anymore, or I didn't like that design, I'm going to remove it completely. Just be aware that when you do bin it, it does go permanently. So we just want to be careful when we're kind of removing those forms that we've maybe built. Awesome. I did notice that Hannah just popped in saying, how do you do the pinned forms? So as those 3 functions I was explaining with the schedule, unscheduled or ad hoc, and then also the pinned option. The pinned version of those forms is in the sites. So they're more site specific. And if we click into the sites list here, I'll use my bungalow renovation as the example. So editing that site. Some of you may call these projects or jobs as well, up to you how the naming convention of it works. But in this case, we're going to go into my bungalow renovation site, click into the pinned forms tab. And as you can see here, I've got some forms that I've kind of assigned to the site specifically. So the function behind that pinned form is site-specific information or documents that need to be kind of live and living. So we've got a JSA or TA here. Some of you call them job hazard analyses. So just all our different lingos kind of fusing into one here. But they're kind of a task-based risk assessment. So I've put this onto my bungalow renovation site because I want my team on this 5-day job to be kind of adding information over time. And so day 1, they'll do one task. Day 2, they might do a different task. So I want them to build up this form based on all the different tasks and analyze each task. So it's kind of live and living. We're constantly building on it, and the team can also all collaborate on it. So we can all see that form, jump into it, and see the information from days prior. So if you've got forms that have that kind of function or need that function behind them, we want to be pinning them to the site. As you can see here, we kind of just click on the pick option, and that'll pull through our list of forms. There's a few different options here. You can start from a copy of an existing form. So say on the Bush Road job, I liked that JSA or TA, and that form is pretty much the same on my next site too. So what I'll do is just pick the one that's already been completed, and all the filled out answers will pull into this new form. We do want to make sure that we go onto that site on the mobile and just check that the form's details are correct for this new job or site, because maybe something might change, like a question or an answer. So just adjust it to suit once you've pulled it through. The other option is we can just go from a blank form. So from here, you can see there's start from blank, and this is where I can start to just search up which form I want and just pull in a blank, empty, no answers form. Additionally, just search up in the filtered results to kind of find that form really quickly to assist. Perfect. Once you've picked it, it'll then be assigned under this list. Depending on your pack size that you guys are using, you will have a different level of amount of pinned forms you can allocate to each site. In this case, I can do 5. So just be aware of that. If you're looking for more pinned forms, let your designated customer success manager know, and we can kind of adjust and talk more and send you back to the right people to talk about getting those different features. Awesome. Additionally, you can also view ones that have already been done. So my JSA that I completed here on the 8th of February, I can click view and see all those answers and things that I've already provided to that form. Awesome. And removing it, Obviously, if we don't want it there, we can kind of take it away. A really good thing to keep in mind with this is if I say designed this JSA before the 8th of February, completed it, and then I change the design, you do want to just flip over, have the new design come through. So what we would do is change and put in that new JSA so that all the new questions are coming in. Perfect. Hope that helped your question there, Hannah, as well. Awesome. So back into our forms list. That is the gist of all those different aspects you can see within here. Additionally, we had that warning sign on those forms before that were turned off. You can just see that, turn that on and off kind of visually by clicking on show unused forms. So to see which ones are still in that draft state or not in the mobile as such. But yes, that's where we can kind of turn them off or on. Then we can also change those schedules and ad hoc options within the design of the form by editing them. I will jump into a second where we dive into the actual form builder. Firstly, I just want to talk about the two different types of forms we'll be creating. One is the custom kind of from scratch form, and the other is editing the existing ones that are there. So starting with the custom one, orange plus button is your best friend. We're going to jump into here, and that's going to open up kind of a blank canvas to begin with. From here, we can go and design whatever we want, starting from form name, and every aspect is kind of up to you as you go. So jump in here and start to kind of create, but I do recommend also starting with the adjusting forms because you'll have a kind of template to begin with. But if you're feeling really confident and you're like, nah, I know exactly what I want to build, definitely jump in here, get that from scratch moment and go for your life. Beautiful. From there, we are going to adjust one of these forms. So I'm going to start with my one that is my example here. So I'll open that one up and we can now see that beautiful new form builder design is open. So to break this down a little bit, we have got firstly our form analytics. So this to the right is going to kind of, this is one of the newer things that have come into play, which is super exciting for us to see. You can start to see things like form completion time. So roughly how long it's going to take the team. So really good to keep track of, okay, maybe this form's getting a little bit long. The team's probably not going to engage with it if it's taking an hour. So let's cut some questions down if we need, or really consolidate things to make it easier for the team. Number of questions, of course, is popped in there as well to really see that overarching summary. And then you can also see kind of creation status as well. So I know that I created that on this date just to keep track of that history or audit history of it. Awesome. Moving through, we also have the kind of form details. So in here, if I click onto this section, we can edit the name of the form by clicking on the pencil icon next to it. This is really handy if you need to adjust the wording of any of our forms that we have as templates, and you want to kind of create your own forms and name them. When you're done with that, orange tick button saves it off. We can select the category it's falling under. So in this case, I've just popped in task, but it could be maybe a start of day form, or we're doing inspections or incident related topics. So choose your category that kind of applies best. Moving through, we then have the form settings. So in this section here, we have a few different options. Firstly, we can make it a quiz. Turn this toggle on if you want to make it a quiz. This is more when you start as a custom form. The quizzes kind of limit you to just 2 answer types because we generally just want them to say yes or no's or kind of a multi-choice option. So yeah, those give you those 2 answer types to utilize. So don't choose a quiz if you want to have more things like signature captures and pulling in resources and other abilities, but definitely really useful for things like training. If you have just a quick quiz that people need to kind of fill out based on a certain level of training they've done, maybe they've done safe operating procedures training recently and they need to be quizzed on it, we could build a form in here that would quiz them on a certain safe operating procedure. So that option there, we would just turn on before we start designing the form and then go through and put those pass rates and things like that in there too. Awesome. I'll definitely dive in a bit more with the quizzes and later. Then we also have the form library option. So as I was explaining earlier, when we had those 3 functions, we have the scheduled, ad hoc, and pinned. I'll keep coming back to them always. The ad hoc option is our form library. So as we can see here, this form is currently available in that form library down at the bottom right, as we can see this list here. So toggling that on will make it available in that list. Then we have our description. So any kind of details you want to record about this form. Sometimes people put some instruction text in here, just kind of general information about the form and what it's doing, what's achieving. Attribution field, this is really kind of optional if you want to utilize it. It's really, really good if you want to have any kind of YouTube links or any link that would send anyone through to that location. So popping in a kind of YouTube link or something for a training form, for example, is really helpful. So that's kind of there if you need it, and it just kind of shows up at the top of a form for the team. Then you've got the form statistic group. This is more for a reporting aspect. There's certain kind of buckets of forms that kind of come through in a report for the administrator. So definitely kind of choosing a group if you need to. We've got like toolbox talks is here, deliveries, inductions, things like that. Again, optional if you want that kind of level of reporting, but it's also kind of just there to assign and put into a little kind of category. Form completion notifications. So this here is an option to put in an email address for anyone who needs to receive this form as soon as it's completed. This will happen for every kind of location. So anytime this form is completed, this email address will get a copy of it sent to them. So really handy if you do have kind of incident forms, for example, where you need to be aware of it instantly, or maybe your team lead does, then you can have their email address popped in here so that automatically goes right to the people who need to know straight away. We also have the form completion schedule. So again, those three functions, this is the scheduling aspect. So we can pop in here daily, weekly, or monthly so that it flows onto our to-do list under today, this week, or this month. So that's that setting there. And then we just set it to none if we just want it to be that ad hoc form library form. Awesome. Lastly, we have the user groups. So this one here is once we've built them, which I will definitely dive into later, but we have got those user groups already pre-built in this case. And so I'm going to go and say maybe this form is specific just to the site foreman. So I'll just choose the site foreman user group. And then anyone who's assigned to that user group will see this form, but the rest of the team won't see the form. Just that filtering system we were talking about just before. In this case, I want everyone to see this form. So I'm actually going to not select any user group. And then naturally, by default, everyone gets to have access to this form. Awesome. Then also we are now going to go into the form design. So that's the gist mainly of the settings and the kind of breakdowns of the form initially. And then we want to now move into the actual questions we're going to be asking the team so that they can get that health and safety saved. Now, I'm going to quickly use the example of this case so we can just see what the form looks like on the mobile as well. So I'm finding that same form that I'm looking at in the design. Reminder, admin console is your design world, and then the mobile is where we actually complete and save the forms. So it's a more interactive world. So first off, just to break down these different tools that we have on the side and above, and also at the bottom of your page. We can start off with the questions. So starting off, if I just kind of click here and add a question, this is going to open up all the different answer types I can start to utilize. As you can see, I've got a few already laid out for us here. These are kind of the normal general ones people utilize. Things like multi-line text, yes, no, plus reason, which will give you a bit more information. So what happens is, say in this case, someone's clicked no, they're going to have to get a prompt to open up a bit more. As you can see here, the options showing through. So yes, no plus reason will say no, and that's automatically prompting me to write a note, and I can even write a corrective action as well. So really good for those kind of questions where you say, is something happened? If it has happened, please make a corrective action about it. So they say, yes, maybe, and it has prompt for reason, or no, and it prompts for a reason. And we can just adjust that. So the yes, no option can flick around. As you can see here, we've got NA no yes plus reason, or NA yes no plus reason. If you don't need the NA option, you can also do just yes, no plus reason. So there's a few options there, definitely. Have a bit of a jump in and play around, but that's kind of what it'll look like in the mobile for you on that other end. The multi-line text one is pretty self-explanatory. It's just going to be an option to complete the form in regards to questions. You type it all out or use a little keypad. Additionally, the team can also use the talk to text feature, which is really fast. So super handy if they have used that a lot, and they can kind of click on it, talk into the phone. it types it all out for them. Beautiful. Moving through, we've also got things like your multi-choice options. In this case, I've got a multi-choice, multi-select, but there is also the multi-choice just single select as well. And this is going to give the people the different options. In the mobile, we can see here, I've got option 1, 2, and 3, as we have option 1, 2, and 3 here. In this case, I've got multi-select, so I'll choose maybe 2 options and save that off. Awesome. We also have the add image questions. So this one here, we can start to kind of pop in an image from the mobile. As you can see here on this mobile side, I can click on the photo icon. This is going to allow me, because I'm on the forms on the web version of the system, which is also, to be aware, available for some people. We might not have it for every package. So just be aware of that. If you're finding, oh, I want forms on the web, on that computer version, let me know, or pop in the questions here today and we'll take note of it, or even let your customer success manager know as well. But yeah, as you can see, I'm going to assign a file to pull into this form and save it, and it'll all be ready to go. Additionally, we can go into equipment list. So this is pulling from the equipment that you've loaded in as your asset register. This is going to show me here all my different tractors and jiggers and things like that that I've loaded in. So maybe I'm going to do an equipment maintenance register or a vehicle check form, and I need to pull that equipment list through. So this answer type will be really handy. Moving to the next one, we have got resources that we can pull through. There's 2 questions I've got here in relation to the resources. This one here is the selected resource. So this one, I've already pre-selected a resource for the team. So a lot of you might have different, I don't know, safe operating procedures or kind of work permits or things like that that you need people to see. Maybe a safe work method statement, things like that. We might want to pull it into a form so the team can actually acknowledge it. Really good for things like toolbox talks where there's a certain topic we're discussing. Pull in the resource, they have to view it, and then we can discuss it. In this case, you can see there, I've got the eye icon for that resource I've chosen. So clicking on that will open it up for me in another web browser page, and then you can just kind of acknowledge it, view it, and then go back into the form to discuss it. Awesome. Then we have the resource select from option. So this one gives the team a little bit more freedom to choose their own resource instead of having it there to look at pre-selected. So when I click into this one, I now have the option of which ones I want to look at. Maybe I've got a SWIMS safe work method statement that I want to look at. So I'll choose that one to be added in, click on the eye icon, view it, discuss it. So 2 different options there with our resources pulling in to our forms. The last one I have here is the supplier list select from. This one is if you've got any kind of contractor companies, or even if you use suppliers, you can use that tab within the admin console however you'd like, but it can be added in all these different companies you might work with, and they might need to be added into a form or recognized within a form. So we've got the supplier list option here, and this is going to pull all through my kind of contractor companies I've got. So Sanderson Electrical, for example, might be working with me on this job. So I've pulled them in. Maybe they need to get this report. So what I've done is I've added an email option with the supplier to complete this form. So when it's completed, they'll get an email of this form because they're on my supplier list, and I've selected them. I've also, with this form, as you can see, have allowed multiple answers on it. So this is one of the extra kind of layers of logic we can add to a question. And this is going to show up like this, where you can repeat the previous question. So I've got that supplier question there. I've got Sanderson Electrical is selected, but maybe I have more than one supplier I want to have this form emailed to, or maybe I need to recognize that there's more than one supplier or subcontractor I've mentioned in this form. So I'll go repeat previous question, and I'll select the other people. Maybe I've got Bobby Builders as well. So I'm going to assign Sanderson Electrical and Bobby Builders. They're both now in this form. They'll both also get an email because I've turned that toggle on. So happy all around. We've all got that acknowledgement and we're all in there. The repeating previous question is really handy, not just for this use case, but also when you have signatures. Maybe you need to add multiple signatures in one form. So that signature question that you might pop in there can have a repeating aspect to it if you need. So really handy for that kind of stuff if you want it. I will touch on to the signature aspect a bit later in this form. You'll see it down the bottom. But yes, that is the aspect of a repeating question. Then moving through, you can see the collapsible section. So moving past our question tool now, we've got this collapsible panel option. This is going to show as a red or yellow, sorry, item, I'm getting colorblind, a yellow option within the form. So I generally use this for kind of a bit of instruction text that needs to be kind of more of a warning as such. So it kind of really is quite visual by the team. We can see here that it's got that yellow option. We can click into it if we really want to expand the information. But all it is really is got a header kind of instruction text, and you have an explanation option as well. So just break up the text as you please, but that's what it shows up as in the mobile. You also have the general information panel. This is here where we kind of see a gray version of instructions show up. So maybe less abrasive, less kind of warning, just kind of guiding the team through the form. Same kind of the vibe, we kind of pop in the instructions here and it flows through as a gray box for the team. Awesome. We then have different headers. So as we can see here, we've got a form section tool. This is going to allow us to pop in things like this section header here where I've got a sign off header, and I've also popped that section header at the very top here as well. So what this means is if I click into that section header, just some text to kind of break up the form. As we can see in the mobile side, it breaks it up a little bit. It gives us that blue kind of banner to say this is the next part that you need to be filling out. Really good to just break up the form, really. What we can do here is kind of also allow multiple answers. What I've done in this case here is allow multiple answers. And what that just means is the questions underneath that header are going to be repeated as a section instead of like how we had before, just that individual question was being repeated. When you have that repeating option in the header, it has a whole section being repeated. So as we can see here in the mobile and in the form design, we've got the header that's allowing multiple answers. And then under it, because it's a sign off section, I've got a name question, which is going to pull from my staff list to assign the whole team. As you can see in the name section here, that drop down my staff. So I can say, okay, Rochelle is signing off on this one. And then the next question is my signature. We've pulled that signature capture answer type through. And in my mobile view, we have a signature to scribble the signature. So my first person's come in, they've signed it, that's all good. Now I'm running a toolbox talk and I have 4 people with me and I've signed, but they also need to sign too. So we'll maybe pass the phone around because we just want to complete it on this one form. And they will all go and add a new section and add their signature. So now maybe name is Alex. I'll save Alex there. Alex is going to do their signature. Really great scribbles there, and so on and so forth. So as we keep going, we'll slowly gather up. Maybe someone's not present, so we can kind of log back in when they are present. We can kind of give the phone to them, they can sign. So we just keep adding the sections as we need to get those signatures. Beautiful. From there, we have also got a conditional section. So that is this tool option here. And what this is allowing us to do is kind of have almost a hidden part of our form. So what I've got here, I've used the example of an incident. So imagine we're in an incident form right now, and I've asked, does this incident have a report completed for it? In this case, maybe it might not. If there's no report completed for it and we don't need to do that, it's not really applicable. I can just kind of move past that question. So as you can see in my mobile here, it's asking, does this incident have a report completed for it? I might say no. And so that just opens nothing. It just stays as it is, and we can complete the rest of the form, move past it. If though I had clicked yes, which I have selected as the answer, that's going to open up this conditional option. It then will open up all of the questions that are in relation to that conditional section. So as you can see here, I've got add incident report as the question underneath my conditional section. So this is the question that pops up if someone answers the conditional section as I wanted them to. Now, just to go back to that conditional section options, we do have the yes, no, the checkbox, or a multi-choice option. And all we need to do, of course, checkbox. If they click the checkbox, they'll then open up that section. In the yes, no, we just need to assign whether yes will open up the section or no will open up the section. And then with the multi-choice option, you add all of your options and select which option will open up the section. Beautiful. In this case, we'll keep it just yes, no, and yes will be the one that pops up that next question. And then we have the builder underneath it. So from here, I'm going to just add in new questions additionally to open up that section. It'll all be questions that are in relation to the conditional question you've asked. So in this case here, we've got, is there an incident report being completed? Maybe yes, that is. So we got in here, I've gone and used the completed form answer type. So this is actually going to link in a form that I've already done. So in this case here, I'm adding the incident report. I haven't got any troubleshooting forms that have been done. So we will have a list of them show up here. So as you do an incident report, they'll start to show here for you to pull in. In this case, I have nothing to pull in, but that's okay because maybe I don't need to do a report or anything like that. So we can kind of just play it by ear, start to add in the ones we need as and when we need. So yes, that is the gist of all those different tools that we can start to use. The question, which is going to give you all the different options of how you can ask your team about their health and safety. The collapsible panel, which is that yellow kind of banner that gives a bit more of a warning text. The form section, which gives us the header banner, so that blue banner that says this is the next section. The conditional section, which is that kind of optional one, where it also gives us the blue banner, but it's asking us a question. And if we do answer it correctly, it opens up the questions in relation to that topic. And then that last little information panel, which is that gray one, where it's just kind of instruction to guide the team along and assist with the form. Awesome. So that is the general breakdown of all our options within the form. Of course, we have a few more answer types that we can start to use within the question, but these ones are the key ones that I've talked about today that most people utilize and create process around. So start to have a look at that answer type list because there definitely are a few to choose from. As you can see, when we click in here and scroll through, there's star ratings, date, time additions. We can add more images, barcodes, staff lists, so many to choose from. So definitely have a bit of an explore because there's heaps to kind of activate within this. Awesome. From here, what I want to jump into is just also explaining the aspect of previewing a form when we've kind of drafted or edited a little bit. So I'm going to save this off. And we'll go back into that form again. I just want to quickly look into here, and I haven't changed anything yet. So I've maybe edited the design, come into the form as it's blank and you haven't changed anything yet. And you can start to look with the eye icon, which is going to give me an option to preview this form within the system. Of course, we'll need to log in. So I'll come in here and I'll do my login info. That's going to log me into my account. And then opens up that form automatically so I can start to see how it's going to look in the mobile. So maybe you don't have this beautiful setup like I do where it's side by side. You obviously can if you've got that forms on the web feature available in your account. You can check this though, where kind of you're just quickly seeing what the form looks like. So you can say, okay, this is the right answer type I do want to use, or this actually does get completed quicker than I want, the way I want the team to engage with it. So yeah, that's just a quick little view to kind of give you an idea of what it's going to look like in the actual mobile. Of course, you can grab your phone as well and log in that way. We're just giving you options here to kind of see what the form looks like for the team on the end. Beautiful. That is the gist of the aspects within the form builder and all the different layers we can dive into. Additionally, I do want to let you know, if you click on this help button down the bottom right, there are different articles you can quickly jump into. This is available on the dashboard at any point in time. So any place you want to go and navigate to or just learn more about, this is going to pull from our knowledge base. In the form builder kind of topic of today, what we would maybe start using here is answer types. So I'd search that up, and that's going to give me an example or an article on the answer types to really give me a good understanding of each one and how I can use it. So if you're kind of getting confused or you're like, I want to achieve this and I want to know what this answer type does, pop into this Exploring the Answer Types article and it'll dive into every one of them and tell you more about it so you can make better decisions as to what you want to do. Awesome. A last little thing as well is a word of advice. When you are building your forms and changing them and editing them, I recommend always considering, one, your reporting at the end of the day. Is the data you're capturing going to be really clean? So when we choose an answer type, are we going to just use free text which can sometimes get messy because people type things with capital letters or lowercase letters, or they spell it wrong or something like that, because human error is very natural. So consider that. Or would we do a multi-choice where maybe we've got pre-selected options that are all typed the same and the team just selects which one they want, so that when you come to your reporting later down the track, we've captured all the data, we know, okay, Tim has had a broken arm 5 times in the last 2 weeks. We should probably check if, one, he has the training he needs. Maybe the site is really hazardous. We need to look at the hazard register or the site-wide specific kind of risk assessments, and just start to capture that data really cleanly so you can really get the analytics on it later down the track. So that's the first option to consider. The second option to consider is ease of use. How are the team going to find this as easy as possible? Are they having to kind of add too much information? Are they having to type everything out, or can they just choose some yes nos? Or are they being prompted to do corrective actions, or are they forgetting to do corrective actions because there's no yes plus reason option? So have a bit of a think about that with the team as well. Analytics is really good to assist with that, because of course you have got how long it's going to take and how many questions are showing up there. So definitely start to look into that and use that to assist you with the ease of use for your team. Awesome. All right. That is the gist of your form designing, editing, and kind of setting it for its schedules or ad hoc options. Now, I want to jump into a few kind of use cases. So specific things that people generally come across on a day-to-day basis. Firstly, we do have a few forms that are going to be hard-coded to the system and different places within it. So I'm just going to navigate to my home screen on the mobile for you. And we can see here there's obviously a few buttons that we can work with. First off is our induction button up the top right. And this is linked to our on-site induction form. So this form here, on-site induction, if I jump in and edit that, change the design of it, this form will flow through to this button in the top right. This is a one-time form, so every time you have a new site that people kind of enter, maybe they haven't done their induction on the bush road, for example, you can see it's showing up with a red symbol for me. So on this bush road job, I haven't actually completed my induction. And every time I come in here, I'll see that that's red and I go, oh, okay, I've got to go and do my induction. I haven't done it for this site. Or the site foreman can say, have you done your induction? Is it green or red? If it's red, let's do it. But yes, as we can see on my bungalow renovation, that's all green. So that's what the difference will look like when the team have or haven't done their inductions. But for the design of it, just jump into that on-site induction form, change the questions around. You can start to drag and drop them if you don't like the order of them and things like that. Rename or retype words and answer types, change all of the things you need to suit your company best. And you can even change the name as well. So edit this. Maybe you don't want it to be called on-site induction. You might want it to be your company name induction. So completely adjust it as you please. Awesome. So that's that first form that links through to that button. I'll save that off. Then we also have our incident button here. So this is going to pull through from our site incident and injury register form. So this one here, again, same kind of situation. Rename it if you don't like the name of it. Kind of adjust the questions, change them around in order, change the naming conventions, all that kind of stuff to suit you best and what you need to capture the most as well. Then we also have got our equipment related forms as well. So a lot of you will have like vehicle checks and things like that. So definitely build in your vehicle check forms for sure. But the equipment forms will be related to, if I quickly search them, we have got our equipment maintenance register. So this one is going to update any maintenance field you've set within your equipment on the equipments tab. And we also have the road user charges form as well. And that's going to update the road user charges info you've popped into that same equipment. So in the mobile for these forms, we're just going to go into the ad hoc list. This is just available here. So they can just search up RUCs and that'll come up, or equipment maintenance register. Oh, if I could spell it correctly. There we go. So equipment maintenance registers there too. And literally the same thing applies with those ones, guys. Jump in, change the name if you want to change the name, change the questions if you want to change the questions and bulk them up a bit more. But yes, the questions that are currently in there do link through to that equipment tab. Awesome. So that is your hard-coded section or aspects. And then from there, we just want to jump into, I think I want to go into the incident form that we have first. So bear with me. That site incident injury register. The main reason I want to open this up is just because there's some key things to consider when you do build this form out. Everyone obviously does it their own way. They've got really intense kind of processes they utilize within these forms. But what we want to start doing is get some kind of process behind it. So this form might link to a corrective action, which might link to a toolbox talk being discussed and things like that. So there might be like flows we want to create almost with different forms having some kind of linkage. And what we can use with that is corrective actions to link them all. So in this case, I've got a question. Where is it? We might have an investigation form that we're completing through. It might need to be investigated in the whole section. So I've got here, are you investigating or reviewing this incident? And if we look at my form on this end, I actually have a completed one already, to be fair. So I'm going to go into my mobile, into my save forms I've already done. And as you can see here, I've got my incident forms that I did today. So something's happened today. I did a site incident and injury register in relation to it. And what's happened is I've filled out all the information. There was Ben on the site and he had a bit of a concussion because he's fallen off the roof in this case. So we've put in all of the information we need, whether we need to kind of let ACC, it's got an ACC claim, whether WorkSafe needs to know, all that kind of stuff. That's for the New Zealanders if WorkSafe's included. Canadians, Americans, everyone else international, you might have other aspects of people you need to let know, hospital, things like that. So of course, that's all going to be included in this first initial form. Here, I've also got a lost time injury aspect, so I've put that information in. You could even have a question in here that links through the lost time injury form that you might build that details more about the lost time injury. Or alternatively, we would make a corrective action here that says, okay, there's going to be a lost time injury form I need to complete for this now because we've said, yes, there's 3 days that I'm losing time on this person. So what we're going to do in that corrective action world is go into this dotted option within the form. The team will add that action and they'll say, please complete a lost, actually, I'll just do it quickly, LTI form for this incident. I'll go and assign it to someone. So maybe like my foreman or myself even. Of course, the status is to do. Priority is actually probably a bit high. So we might put on to high. And my due date might be maybe the end of the week we need to do it by. So that's all good there. We could even link in the ad hoc form if we have got that available as well. So you just click on the ad hoc form, search up lost time injury, and it'll link in. And even a resource as well, if you have any kind of resources you need to apply to that corrective action. Save that off. And now that's linked to that question specifically. So now we know that Rochelle's going to get a task to go and do a lost time injury form in relation to this form here. So it kind of just creates that linking to other kind of flows of forms to be done. I've also done the same thing for an investigation. So in this case, if I said, no, I'm not investigating, it's that conditional section that closes off and I just save the form as it is. But in this case, I might be investigating it. So I'm going to say yes. Rochelle, am coming in because I'm the foreman, I'm the leader of the team, maybe. I might come and investigate this. It's currently in progress as an investigation because maybe there's an investigation form I'm doing separately. And the date or review of that is happening today. This section below here, I'm kind of leaving as required, but it's not done yet because I haven't finished the investigation form yet. And I've got a question here that's going to link in that investigation form so that my reporting is pulling the two questions or two forms together. So really good to start pulling in those answer types that link our forms for reporting later. So it's kind of in that draft state right now. We haven't finished the investigation form yet. So I'm going to click save as draft. But what I can see is I've started my investigation form. So here I've got my incident investigation form that I've previously created just for the purpose of today. But now I've jumped in, I've kind of filled out that investigation in relation to the incident that happened. Within this form, you might want to link in other corrective actions. You might want to link in other forms like the lost time injury one maybe. So all your questions can start to have those linking in forms or having corrective actions within them options. So definitely that's where we start to look at those answer types again. But all of these required fields that are showing green now in the corner, they're not red anymore, so they're all done. We can save that. It's all completed. Green tick shows us it's all good. It's ready to go. So now I can go back into my incident form that wasn't completed fully. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom part and I can link in any investigation forms. So we can come in here. We can say, okay, cool, Rochelle's done an incident investigation form today. I'll choose that one and I'm going to add my signature. All done. Those fields are now fully done. They're required and they're fully completed now that they're green. So we can click Save Final. And now I've kind of closed that loop on that investigation and that incident. We've got both the site incident injury register form done, which was the initial one. It had that section that was kind of drafted because we needed to do an incident investigation. I then did the incident investigation because I maybe made a corrective action for someone to do it, or I linked it through to someone. And then we've gone and completed that and pulled that back into the first form. So now it's all linked within my reporting. Awesome. So definitely look at the design and how we can start to use those answer types like the yes, no plus reason, which prompts our corrective actions, and also the completed form being linked into a form. So really helpful like this one here. We look for that answer type that says linked to completed form to get those incidents forms and things like that that we want to kind of pull into one form for reporting. Awesome. So that's our incident use case there. I also want to touch on our risk assessments because, of course, that is a huge part of our health and safety. Now, we have a lot of forms available for you guys to utilize within your risk assessment side of things. Of course, we've got different things like a task-based risk assessment. So we want to be using things like the JSA, JHA, TA, whatever you call it. Everyone has different lingo, depending on where you are in the world. So definitely start to utilize that if you have a task-based form, and that's going to pull things like the answer types of our hazards. So in here, I've got our hazard/risk select from option. That's just the answer type that is going to pull from your hazard list that you can preset in your resources tab. And we also might want to pull in the control measures. So we have preset control measures that is also using that answer type of action control measures. Again, resources tab is where you can preload all of those control measures in side by side with that hazard list as well. And that allows you to pull in that list of information for the team in here. Just to show you an example of what that kind of looks like, on my to-do list, I've got a JSA form here, and I can go past and find that hazard question. And this is dropping down that list of my fall from ladder, my dropped objects, all those hazards I'm coming across. And then in the control measures piece, we have the same thing, but it's saying appropriate PPE. We maybe need to put in appropriate training, different things like that that will reduce the risk. Awesome. So those are the main key ones to think about with your with your risk assessment forms. And another thing to kind of add in here that is really helpful for people is repeating sections as well. In my case here, I've got my task analysis that maybe needs to be built on over time because I've pinned it. So what I'll have in the design of it is that header repeating a lot of times. So now we can kind of repeat my task, my work step, my hazards for that work step, my control measures for that work step multiple times because we'll have maybe 5 work steps we're talking about. So in this case, in the mobile, we have my first task and work step all assessed. And then I've got my second task and work steps assessed. And as we go, we just keep adding those new sections. So start using those repeating aspects within those risk assessment forms as well. Awesome. All right, I'm aware of time. So last little thing I want to touch on before we get into that Q&A part is the quizzes. So really simple from here. Orange plus button is the kind of custom form aspect. And as we mentioned earlier, we're going to click into make this a quiz from here. That just means that now when I go to the kind of design of a form, orange plus button, we go into the question and all we have is the yes and no or the multi-choice options, just to make it really simple for the team. Maybe this is a yes and no. The correct answer would be yes. I'll just do question 1 here. Perfect. And then if they correctly answer all of the questions, they get a pass rate at the very end of that completion. So it's a really simple setup for the quiz. Just come in here, make sure you select quiz when you're custom building their form, pop in the questions, choose the answer type, give it a correct answer, and then the team can complete it. It'll be more of an ad hoc form as well. Usually that's how people do it. So have a correct kind of go find the form, they complete the form in the mobile, save it to the correct site that they're going to as well. And then that kind of comes through to your reporting and it has the pass and fail rate there as well. Awesome. Xing out of that one, the last bit is that user groups piece that I was talking about. We have touched a bit on it today, but just kind of the initial steps of creating the user groups. We're going to start in My Business. We go into settings, and then at the very top, this will be available for some packages, some might not. So if you find this user group feature really quite useful and you want to utilize it, definitely let us know and we can talk about that feature coming into your account as well. But yes, we kind of build them here, type in which user groups you've got. I've got my 3 that I kind of use in my examples, but you can build as many as you please. Now that we have them built, we need to assign them. So what we're going to do is make sure the user is assigned and the form is assigned as well. Firstly, to users, jump into that team users section. Maybe I want Bailey. So anyone with that login with the kind of ID icon next to them, we open that up and we need to make sure that the user group option here is chosen if they apply. From there, the forms need to be assigned. So we're going to go into the forms. Maybe I want my Hot Works permit to be assigned to just specific people. So I'll edit that form and I'm going to go into the form settings to where it says user groups that need to access this form. Maybe it's just the foreman, maybe it's the foreman and the admin, so we can choose more than one. Beautiful. And again, just to give you an idea of what that does, it just kind of filters down the form list so that the team are only dealing with the forms that they need to take responsibility on. And then the rest of the team don't have to worry about that form. It doesn't show up on the daily, weekly, or monthly options, doesn't show up in ad hoc. It's just there for the people who need to see it and complete it. Awesome. Cool. That is the gist of your form building.